Have you ever felt like you could not do this anymore? You cannot continue living the life that you're living. Where you're at now is not where you want to be in the future. I get it 100%. This video ties in with my previous video where I told you kind of my life, my adult life story up until this point, where I gave this metaphor of being on a deserted island of just like pain, misery, drugs, and hating myself and all this stuff, and sailing off into the ocean and landing on the mainland of sanity, if you will. A lot of people, when they just start on their journey of success or self-improvement or whatever it is, most of the time it's not because they're like, I don't know, man, I just want to see if I can, you know, be a better person or be more successful. It's usually because they have a moment of despair and suffering and pain to be like, I don't want to do this anymore, and that lights a pretty good fire into your ass. The early days, all I had was to be driven by suffering. I just didn't want to be where I was, right? So that's all I had. I said danger is that way, pain is that way, suffering is that way. I'm gonna just go in a different direction. And I just kept going for 7 years, going on 8 years now, and here I am. Sometimes suffering for you could be you're just, you know, you're not happy with yourself, you're not happy with your job, you hate the person that you've become, you have no goals, no ambitions, no anything, you feel like you're stuck. Some people are driven by, you know, maybe they just hate their 9 to 5. Maybe they just don't like clocking in. They don't like the job that they're at. Maybe the career path they chose was just, not only is it not inspiring to them, but it's also not financially, you know, stable, or there's no financial growth for them. A lot of self-development podcasts or speakers or talking heads will tell you that it's all about, you know, attracting positivity into your life and dreaming big and stuff. And to some degree it's true, but when you're in your earlier stages of your self-development journey and your success journey, it's hard to think positive, right? You're usually in such a low point, and I'm here to tell you that it is okay to be driven by not wanting to suffer anymore. Like, when I got my start, I was like, man, I want some chickens, and I want a lowrider, and I want to, you know, I wanted all these cool things in my life. And it's really hard to get up every day and be like, I'm gonna have chickens one day, I'm gonna have chickens one day. Like, all these little details people tell you to like focus on and think positively. It's really hard to do when you're in the beginning and you are just in the weeds of it. You're battling it out in war. It's hard to be, you know, think positively of the micro details that you can then manifest that come into your future, or, you know, whatever hippie shit that you know, a success guru is gonna have you believe. It's not to say there's not a time and place for positivity, but I can tell you, when you are in the weeds, you're not making any money, you hate your fucking job, you hate your life, you hate yourself, you think that you're a loser, the last thing you can give a shit about is, oh, in 5-6 years, maybe I'll have a cool little home flock with a nice little garden, and, you know, my car is painted this color. There is nothing that'll light a fire into your ass quite like some self-hatred. There's just not. And it's so okay, and I think it's good. I think there's different personality traits. I think that maybe some people can't be fueled by, you know, the self-hatred and the suffering and the hatred for shit around you, but there is a huge portion of people who, they wake up every day and they're just like, man, I fucking hate this job. I hate the life that I have. I hate this, I hate that. You can see it around you. I mean, look at how many people just, you know, how much negativity there is around in the world. And that's not to say that you just go around being negative and just hating shit. That's not at all it. You need to do kind of the opposite. You need to try and flush out all the negativity you have in your heart for the outside world, and basically just hate everything about yourself. Maybe that's not the right way to say it, but it's the problem of perpetuating your hate to the outside world, right? You need to figure out how to make yourself a machine that can take all that hatred and turn it into something positive on the outside. Positive on the outside doesn't necessarily just mean I'm going to smile at somebody, I'm gonna wave at somebody. Well, it can easily mean just positive output, right? If you hate the job that you have, you can internalize all that, run it through your little internal hate conversion machine, and turn it into a positive outcome, whether it's you learning a new skill, whether it's you applying to a new job, whether it's you waking up early to get a jump start on. I just had a chicken pick a scab off my leg, and I hate that. And you know what? I'm gonna take this chicken and I'm gonna just, it's all good. This is a pretty complex thought that I could probably spend 5 hours talking about, but there's 3 camps of people when it comes to negativity. Number one, you have your people who are just negative, miserable. They spew, they can take a positive thing, turn it negative, and spew negativity back out into the world. They live in negativity, they live in hatred. You see these people, they're the people who will just drop a shitty comment on your page. You're like, I hardly know you, but why are you leaving a shitty comment on my page? I don't even know you, but okay, whatever. And they try and bring you down into the pit of despair with them. Then there's another camp of people who avoid negativity and hatred at all costs. And they're people who, those are people who believe there's no place in the world for, you know, negativity or hatred, and it's just all positive this, all positive that, and you're better off being in that camp. But the pitfalls of being in the positive only camp is just like, you know, the world isn't just sunshine and rainbows. Now, if you want to be a person who just is oblivious to the world and you want to just namaste and meditate and just only look at the positive, like, yeah, you're in the worst part of your life, but at least you're alive. Like, there's kind of a time and place for that, but that's not going to get you anything. You're going to just, nothing changes when you're always in a state of positivity. There's no room for growth, right? When you live so far in the positive, there's no will to want to change. It's the same thing with negative, like the negative side. People just think that there's no opportunity, there's no growth, who cares, we're just gonna be negative forever. You're much better off on the positive side of camp. But if you're watching this video, more than likely you are a person who would like to go forward in life. You're a person who wants things out of life, who wants to become a better person, who wants to have cooler things, who wants to grow as an individual. And the third camp, which is kind of crazy because it's kind of the camp of reality, which this is the smallest camp. I'd say probably like 60% of people live in negativity, 30% of people live in the positive side, and then there's the last 10% who live in actual reality, where you have to be able to take negativity and turn it into positivity. You know, when I was doing drugs, I struggled with it for so long, and all I did was, I was like, man, I just don't want to do those. I want to not, you know, I want to not do drugs. I want to not do drugs. I want to not do drugs. But the point of pain that I was going through every day with doing the drugs, it was so much deeper and so much darker than I could have ever imagined, that I couldn't just combat it with positivity. I couldn't just positive think myself away from not doing the drugs, because there was some weird internal shit that like was way darker and way gnarlier. Like, I had to sit in the suffering. I had to have rock bottom moments. I don't have to go through all those now, but I had to have moments where I'm like, I am so disgusted with myself, the amount of pain and agony and suffering and self-hatred and just nasty thoughts that I had about myself. while involved in doing the drugs, I had to fully accept that. I had to take all that pain and all that suffering and really, I guess, internalize it and process it, put it in my, in my heart, and process it all, and use that as the rocket fuel to propel me away from the danger into positive action. I remember the last time I got high, I just had like not a good experience. And like, I remember as I was getting high, I was like, I fucking hate myself. Why am I doing this? Why am I doing this? And the whole time I was high, I just thought about the pain and the agony and just being like, why am I fucking doing this? This is, I hate, like, I hate this, I hate myself, I hate this, I hate that. And it was this level of hatred and suffering that allowed me to be able to avoid it, right? Like, some people are the carrot people, some people are the stick people. And I think everybody is a little bit of both, right? It's a spectrum. Some people are 90% carrot people, 10% stick people. Some people are 90% stick people, 10% carrot people. And that doesn't get talked about enough, the balance of the carrot and the stick, because it's not fun to talk about, hey, take ownership of all the bullshit you put yourself through and the position you put yourself through, convert that into self-hatred, and then use that as rocket fuel to get where you want to go. It's much more glamorous to sell somebody or to talk about, hey, just think about the cool life hard enough and you'll have it. And you're like, what the fuck? If that was the case, the world would be a perfect place. I don't think there's many people in the world who just want bad stuff to happen, right? So you have to figure out what that is for you. I know for me, like I said, it was the doing the drugs. I was so poor for so long. Like, I had to wake up and just be like, I'm tired of living in this fucking garage. I'm gonna work every fucking day until I don't live in this garage anymore. And then I move into an apartment and I'm like, dude, F this apartment. The people next door to me, their dog barks at 4 in the morning. I moved in here and now we're infested with fleas. I hate this. I'm gonna work every day to not be in this pain anymore. And it's totally okay to do that, but you can't sit there and wallow in it. And if you're gonna just sit there and wallow and be like, I'm a loser, and you don't do anything, then good, that's your fault. You're gonna just sit and wallow in your own bullshit, then I don't know what to tell you. You're just a negative person, right? It's the three camps. It's the people who wallow in the negativity, the people who just everything's positive, and it's the people in the middle who actually make change in their life. So if you're a person who maybe have always wanted to start your own business, maybe you're going to school to be, I don't know, a fucking accountant or something, right? But you always wanted to open up your own coffee shop, and you're gonna know, dying on your deathbed, that you wish you always went and started that thing. That's the pain you have to find internally. You have to dig so deep for the, and when I say driven by suffering, I mean suffering. I don't mean like driven by discomfort. I mean driven by heartful, soulful agony and suffering and mental anguish. Like, you might be a person who has to sit there and go, wow, I'm really not happy with myself. Let's play this scenario out in my head. Okay, I work this bullshit accounting job that I know I don't really want to do. I work in a cubicle all day. I wish I could work outside. I'm gonna work in a cubicle all day. I'm gonna be miserable every day, but I'll do that for 20 years, and then I'm gonna look up in 20 years and I'm gonna have never pursued the thing that I want to pursue. I kind of make good enough money, like enough to, not be broke, but I'm not really there's not gonna be too much upwards mobility. But I'm probably not gonna have spark for life to wake up every day. And then, down the road when I'm, 60, 70 years old and I'm laying there and I'm taking my last breath, and I'm gonna sit and think, wow, I wasted my entire life being an accountant. You have to be able to visualize and put yourself through that situation to think about, in that moment before you die, how much you're gonna be 60, 70 years old and you're gonna go, I wasted my entire life. And how much that is going to hurt, and how painful is that moment gonna be? Like, me just even saying that gives me chills for the person who is thinking that. You know what I mean? Like, that is a scary, scary, scary thought. If you're a person who can just be like, hey, I don't want to be broke, so I'm gonna work hard, more power to you. Maybe that's all the pain and suffering it takes for you to get away from there. You know, it means you got probably a good head on your shoulders. But if you're a person who's now, you know, spent 5, 10, 15, 20 years of your life in a place that you don't like to be, maybe you need to have those conversations. You know, maybe you're 40 years old and you went, I got this degree that my parents kind of wanted me to in the early 2000s, and you know, I'm a school teacher, and you know, I just teach these kids, and you know, I just this and I just that, and I don't even really like kids, and I kind of just success and pursuit of a brighter future for yourself. You know, you don't have to go quit your job and go open up a freaking, you know, a popsicle stand. But if that's what your heart has been telling you, if you've been ignoring that thing for the past 5, 10, 20 years, that is the thing that is going to haunt you on your deathbed. You are gonna be, you know, let's keep playing it out. You know, you're 40 years old, you've been a teacher for 20 years or whatever, and you're just like, I'll do this, I kind of that, I guess I this, I guess I that. And you do that for another 20 years, and now you're 60, and now you're like, well, you know, I guess I just need 4 or 5 more years to graduate or to retire, and I guess. Now you're 65, 70 years old, and now it's, I don't want to say now it's too late, because it's never too late to start or whatever, but now your timeline is so short, and now you have to try to live out your wildest dreams now that you're 65 years old before you die. You got 65 to the time you die to try and figure out how to make your life worthwhile and justify your life for living for the last 40 years. And there's nothing that you'll be able to do to undo 40 years of just humdrum not enjoying your existence. Now you'd have to really action pack your last 10 years you got in retirement, but chances are you're gonna die with regrets. You know what I mean? And everybody's gonna die with regrets, but there's there's a large scale of regrets, right? Everybody has regrets. Hey, I wish I didn't, you know, I wish I didn't steal that thing when I was 10 years old, or hey, I wish I didn't, you know, tell that lie in high school or whatever, versus I wish I didn't waste 45 years of my life doing something that I hated. You know what I mean? Like, sit with that thought for a second. Like, if you're thinking about this and it's not giving you chills, I don't think you're wrapping your head around, I wasted my entire life. How fucking gnarly that thought is. Like, people don't get it. People just don't understand. Like, that pain and that pit in your stomach that you feel just going, I will accept this fate. I will accept my fate, right? That's ultimately what most people do, is they accept their fate, and they just go, I guess I'll take this. I guess life will give me this, and I guess life will push me this way in the wind. And it's the suffering of knowing wherever the world blows you and wherever that wind takes you is not where you chose to go. There's a level of suffering that you have to do to fucking paddle against the current, adjust your sails, and move and try and get the outcome that you want, versus just letting the world kind of give you whatever it is. It's difficult. It's a battle. It is a battle day to day, but it's a battle, to me, it's a battle that's worth fighting, right? I'll have plenty of regrets in my life. I wish I did this different. I wish I did that different. I wish I did whatever different. But you know, I won't regret wasting my entire life being a fucking debt collector, like I was on the road to be, you know what I mean? I woke up every day and I fist fought the world to get what it is that I wanted. And maybe I didn't get exactly what I wanted, but you bet your ass I got close, you know? I got close to getting what I wanted. And I'm not done yet, you know what I mean? I'm not even entirely a decade into my self-development journey and my business and all this stuff. And if I die now, I go, man, at least I tried as hard as I could with all my might, with all my heart, with all my soul to build the life that I want, to be able to wake up, go work at my own house. You know, yeah, this wasn't even gonna be entirely the topic I was going for. I was actually gonna bring up my giant pad, because now I don't have a whole lot of suffering. You know, now I'm not super poor and not on a bunch of drugs, and I don't hate myself a bunch, and I'm actually dealing with the waking up in silk sheets dilemma, where, you know, you have a gladiator who fights for his survival, but once he becomes rich and famous, he wakes up in silk sheets. You lose the fire to keep going because, you know, you're not fighting for your survival anymore. Didn't go down the path entirely that I was anticipating, because I personally need a therapy session about the silk sheets dilemma. And I'm showing you my big old pile of rocks over there. And because I don't have this crazy, you know, drive to survive anymore, I'm having to figure out, like, I am driven so much more by the stick. I would say I'm a 20% carrot, 80% stick person. So now that I have like no stick to beat me to survive anymore, I have to figure out how to leverage my motivations to continue to push, right? And I talked about that a little bit in the last video. So this big pad is me going 20 grand into debt to expand my shop building. When the building shows up, I'll have a big old fire under my ass going like, hey buddy, you gotta get this building paid off. And for me, that leverage is exactly what I need, right? Like, I don't need the stick telling me that I need to buy a house, or I don't need to be able to pay my bills, because those things are manageable. You know, the whole driven by suffering thing, I can agree is kind of dramatic, but it really is that. It's you know, suffering doesn't have to be pain and agony. Suffering can just be like, if it's a little cold outside, like, you're in discomfort, you're in suffering, you know what I mean? And how much you can amplify that to leverage that into motivation is going to be just as much as you can use that motivation to make you successful. So I am going to wrap up the video here pretty soon, because I got a building to pay for. This thing is showing up very soon. Maybe the next video that I record, I'll be sitting back just sipping an iced coffee on my porch of my brand new workshop building. But it was a good one. Let me know if you want any other topics down in the comment section below. I can try and give you my 2 cents as a dude who has fist fought through life pretty aggressively to survive, overcome drug addiction, sexual abuse, being a giant piece of shit to somebody who, I'm not wildly successful. I'm not a millionaire, but man, where I started to where I am now, I am not just a completely different person. I am like a completely different person who turned into a completely different person who's now turned into an even completely different person. So if you enjoy the videos, give me a like, comment, send it to somebody you think might enjoy this kind of content. No matter what you think, no matter what you do, no matter how hard you're fucking fighting the good fight, you got this.